This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Hi, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and I want to welcome you to the new and improved Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast. After many years of interviewing the best and brightest thought leaders around the world on my SiriusXM show, I am excited to now have those interviews available to people around the globe on this podcast. So many people would write us and say, I love what I've been hearing about your interviews with these great people. Where can I access them? I live in this country or that country, or I don't have access to that technology. How can I get the information? Well, I'm so excited now that we are able to offer the information and the interviews free on this podcast. So we want you to sit back and enjoy this message and let me know how you like them. And then do me a favor. If you like them, send a review. Write a review and post it. And if you like it, hit like on here and share it. And tell everybody you know about it. And then subscribe to this podcast so you'll get the alerts when we post a new interview episode. Thank you for listening and enjoy the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast.
Named one of the outstanding 5 speakers in the world.
Inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame.
Award-winning singer.
Best-selling author.
And now, here's Willie Jolley.
Hey, it's a great day. Dr. Willie Jolley here. How do you go from a little town and growing up where it's rural, go to college, go to get your degree, work for a company, and one day you hear a whisper about an opportunity to buy some of the assets of the company as they're about to sell them. And you're still an employee. And yet you do that and you go on to build one of the biggest food service organizations in America. That's what we're going to talk about today, and how you can learn from my special guest, my friend, Warren Thompson, president and chairman of Thompson Hospitality. Well, I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. It's forced upon me. I can't refuse it. I did not seek it. I did not choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it, just a tiny little minute, but our eternities are wrapped up in it. I'm grateful for this minute, this moment, this opportunity to be on with each and every one of you as we talk about growing your thinking, growing your ideas, and growing your wealth. And this is going to be an interview that you're going to love, because I have been with this gentleman and learned from him so many inspiring ideas. You're going to love this. Now, I take a moment to do that minute. Then I take a moment to thank our sponsor, which is Truist Bank. They have been a great partner. You had 2 banks, BB&T and SunTrust. They came together. They said, we're going to stop competing and start cooperating and build a new bank that's built on one concept, care. And when you start with care, you build a different kind of bank, Truist Bank. And then I take a moment every show to give God some glory, to thank him for life and strength and health. This is going into my I'm now in my 20th season. A guy who didn't know much about radio, but God blessed me with this opportunity to do a radio show. And now it's the #1 self-help show in America. And the podcast is in the top 5% of downloads globally because God gave me the opportunity and gave me a blessing. So I take a moment every show to thank him, to give him glory, to thank him for life and strength and health. I'm grateful for the show. I'm grateful for the speaking. I'm grateful for the books. I'm grateful for the television and all the other things we're doing. But most of all, I'm grateful for life. And as I say every week, God's gift to you is life. Your gift to God is what you do with your life. So do something extraordinary with it. Live it to the fullest. As my friend Les Brown says, live full so you can die empty. Well, my guest today is a friend, and we've been friends for a number of years. He was on many years ago, before we really started getting real access to the world, before the podcast. And he is the president and chairman of Thompson Hospitality, which is one of the largest food service and facility management companies in America, with over 6,000 associates, which means employees, and revenues of almost $1 billion. He operates in 45 states, 6 foreign countries, and he has created an incredible business. He started because he was working for Marriott Corporation. He was running their restaurant division. And one day he heard a whisper that Marriott was going to sell all of their Bob's Big Boy restaurants. And he said to himself, and he probably prayed to God, and he said, God, how can I do this? And he was able to get a leverage buyout of 31 of the Bob's Big Boy restaurants. He changed the name and converted them to Shoney's Restaurants. And he's gone on to build an incredible business, which I could go on and on and on. He's my dear friend, and I'm grateful for him. Warren Thompson, welcome to the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Willie, for having me. And it's a privilege, and I commend you on all of your success and what you have done to help people have that spark that they need in order to start their own businesses or just to be successful in whatever life brings their way. So I commend you, thank you, and applaud what you've done and what you continue to do for people in general across the globe.
Well, thank you, my brother. You know, I'm very grateful. And so that is what I do. I want to inspire people that they can do more, be more, and achieve more, to inspire them that they can win. Well, let's look at this story. This guy, you were born in a small rural area, right? Was it in Virginia or North Carolina?
Virginia. So
okay.
I was born in a small town called Windsor, Virginia, in the southeastern part of the state. I was the second son to 2 educators. My parents were school teachers. My father taught algebra. My mother was a home economics teacher. I had an older brother, 2.5 years younger, and ended up with a sister 9 years younger. But growing up in the rural part of Virginia, attending segregated schools was a blessing and a challenge. Challenge from the perspective that separate was not equal back then.
Right.
But it gave me the foundation, because every morning, the 4 of us, my mother, father, brother, and I, would get into one small Chevrolet car and go to school together. The same building. My mother was in high school teaching home economics. My father was teaching math. I was in 1st grade. My brother was in 3rd. When you ride to school together every day and ride home together every evening, and you attend church every Sunday together, and Saturdays, family time, we were so connected. Every afternoon after school, I would go to my father's class and learn algebra while I was in the 1st, 2nd grade, or my mother's class and learn how to cook, even though I was a very small child. So I became pretty good at math and cooking.
Wow.
And somewhere along there, at the age of 12, sitting in a Shoney's one night with my parents on a Friday evening as a family, I said to my parents, I'd like to own one of these one day.
Wow.
And my father said to me, you can do anything you want as long as you're willing to work hard. So from that night on, I had my sights set on owning and operating a restaurant business.
Wow.
And it just so happened that ultimately ended up owning 27 Shoney's as a part of the 31 restaurant deal. So get to that a little bit later. But, I was very blessed to have grown up in a very challenging time in the 60s
Yes.
in the South. That challenge and that turmoil and that difficulty was all sheltered by love and support from my family and the community.
Yes.
And so we look back and say it was a difficult time for African Americans growing up in the South, but it was also a great time when you think about family values and community and tight-knit community. Yeah, you could be called names by white people when you encountered them, but go to church and people at church would tell you could do anything you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be. We were sheltered from that segregated part of our culture and community by love and support by family and church and so forth. So,
wow. Well, you went to Hampton, Sydney. Is that Hampden, Sydney?
Correct.
College, and then you went on to get a MBA at the University of Virginia.
Right.
And then you came to DC because you got a job working at Marriott. Am I right?
Correct.
And what did you do at Marriott?
Right. Well, backing up.
Okay. Yes.
So my brother, 2.5 years older than me, decided to go to Hampton, Sydney, which was an all-male, all-white school.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Yeah.
They only had about 10 Black students there. And I thought he was crazy when he made that decision. We dropped him off. I gave him my bicycle in case if he needed to make a getaway. I said, we may not see you again, but I remember tears coming out of my eyes when we dropped him off when I was in the 10th grade going into the 11th grade.
Wow.
But I visited him a couple times and ended up following him there. And Hampton Sydney was so desperate at the time to get African-American students who could put up with and go through the rigors of the academic program there, but also the racism there, that if you could get through the program, you ended up getting an education for not a lot of money. I think it cost us about $500 for the 4 years of college.
Wow.
Because they would pay Black students to go there.
Wow.
But they also had an unwritten rule that they would only allow 2 Blacks to graduate per year. So if you look back at their history for 15 years, they only had 2 Blacks to graduate. So
wow.
6 entered my class, 2 of us graduated.
Wow.
The rest were either run off by racism and prejudice. And I encountered the situation many times. One I can think of where I decided to pledge a white fraternity, and one came down with a shotgun and said, let's go hunting. The other one said, well, what are we going to go hunting for? He says, well, we're going to go hunting for nigs.
Oh, wow.
So I left there that night and went to the dean of students and said, look, we have to get an African-American fraternity on campus. And he said, no, we're not. Join one of the others. I told him what happened. I said, okay, if you don't allow me to get one, I'm going to the Washington Post and I'm going to tell them what I experienced here. Well, we got a chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha on campus.
Wow.
So I learned early on how to get around and maneuver around the system to make things better.
Wow.
And
that's a great story.
We got a chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha. The second line, we actually had 2 African-American guys to pledge and 3 white guys who pledged. So
wow.
We pledged because I didn't want to have the same thing happen that had happened to me.
Sure.
Racism, I wanted to let a person join the fraternity based on their character, based on what they brought to the table.
Wow.
So we ended up with a fraternity that surpassed the other fraternities by an entire grade point. So our grade point average was 3.5, where the other fraternities are 2.5. So
wow.
Because we let the best quality people in, or got men in, not based on what color. But anyway, so yes, I went to Hampton Sydney, and then my brother also went on to grad school at UVA. So I followed him and went to grad school there in business school. My father tried to go to UVA after fighting in the Korean War and was not allowed to go because of his race.
Wow.
So he made sure all 3 of his kids got degrees. My brother got a graduate degree, I got one, and my sister went there undergrad. But I also argued to go directly. UVA has a policy still to this day. They don't let students in directly from undergrad into the grad business school. But I argued that I had enough businesses as a kid. I'd raised hogs, sold produce, had a grass cutting business, had a concession business. So all of those businesses, I was able to make the argument that I should be allowed to go directly from undergrad into grad school, which is what I did, and was able to make that argument and win the argument. So
hold that thought, because I want to come back to this, because you raised hogs. That I think that's important. This is not a glass sipper kind of situation. This is hard work. We're gonna be right back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways Show, and for sure, the best is yet to come. We'll be right back.
Friendship is not about being convenient. It's about being committed and consistent.
You can call on me
When you need me,
You can call on me.
call me.
You can call on me.
Pick up the phone
You can call
and call me.
If you need me, you can What good is a friend if you cannot depend on them?
Hey, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and support for the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways Show and podcast comes from Truist Bank. When you work with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. When you become a homeowner, your future starts to feel different. That's power, knowing you could be creating generational wealth to pass down. Truist believes that a path to home ownership exists for you. I hear people say, well, I don't see how I could ever own a home. Truist has programs that could help you buy a home with a lower down payment than you might expect. And their professional guidance helps you build belief that home ownership is within reach. Connect with a Truist teammate to learn about options that are available to you. They will listen to your goals and follow through. Reach them by calling 855-562-1579. Do this for your family and your legacy. That number is 855-562-1579, or visit truist.com/homebuyer. That's truist.com/homebuyer. Certain programs and geographic restrictions may apply. Contact a loan officer for details. Truist Bank is an equal housing lender.
And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways Show and podcast. The show is available, as you know, on Sirius XM channel 141. You can hear it 3 times a week, Saturdays at 4, Tuesdays at 6, and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern time on all of those. But the podcast is available 24/7 on all podcast platforms, and it's doing great, and people around the world are listening, and I'm so grateful. And I always take a moment to say to people around the world, send me an email, info@williejolly.com. Let me know where you're listening from, and you can do that in America as well. I'm just amazed at all the people who I meet who say, I listen to your podcast, and people in other countries as well as people in America. I also want to encourage everybody to go to winwithwillie.com for some of the resources we have to help you win more with your business, with your personal life, with your children, with your marriages, with your faith, how to win more. We want you to win more. And then last but not least, we got an exciting new book, Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better, that is not officially released yet. It's not on Amazon. It's not in bookstores yet. It's only exclusively because I've got the first edition, in which I want to go to my friends and my community, of my network, of my people in my circle, and they are first edition, collector's edition. You can get that at richisgoodwealthyisbetter.com, or when you go to winwithwillie.com, a drop down will hit you, and just order your copies now, one for you and some people in your family. It's a book that'll help you grow your wealth and help you educate your family on how to maintain that wealth. Well, my guest today is a president CEO chairman of Thompson Hospitality. He's my dear friend, and he has worked with so many Fortune 100 companies, feeding them and taking care of them, large universities, hospitals. He's developed a niche where he is also in many of the HBCUs across America. He handles the food service at their campuses. He has been placed in the top of hospitality and Black Enterprise. He won the coveted Company of the Year, and he is just a great gentleman. I am honored. I got to give a little brag point here. One day I called him just to check on him. I said, hey, I'm thinking about you. How you doing? He said, Willie, I'm so glad to hear from you. He said, look, what are you doing Saturday? I said, nothing major. I said, I got my show, but that's already ready and ready to go. He said, why don't you come and hang out with me on my boat? So I knew he had a boat because I'd seen him on my bicycle one day down at the wharf. He had a nice little boat at that point. And I said, yeah, that's nice. I said, well, I'll come to your boat. Now, though, he got another boat. It ain't little. It is huge. It's got staterooms and it's got social area. It's so big it can't go to the wharf anymore in Washington because it's big enough that it can't go under the bridge in Washington DC. So I came and we had a fabulous time. Went down all the way down the Potomac River, and he had food and friends, and it was just fabulous. That's when I asked him about these questions about how did you do what you've done? And when he answered the question, I said, I got to have you on my show. People have to hear this story. Okay, let's continue with the story. You go to business school at UVA. You talk him into it because you had raised hogs. He was in a rural area, raised hogs, done some farming. Did y'all do tobacco as well, Warren?
No, we did not have tobacco.
Okay, but you had hogs. I guess you got hogs. You got chicken somewhere around.
We raised a lot of produce, green beans, corn, sweet potatoes,
Wow.
And we raised produce. We would rent land from others and raise large gardens and sell that to door or at supermarkets sitting on the side of the road, pickup truck. I would buy peaches and apples from the mountains of Virginia where my grandfather lived, and I would bring those down to Tidewater. When I was about 15, I bought an old school bus. I have a driver's license, but I bought it through an auction. And
you didn't have no driver's license yet.
But I act like I had one. And I could haul about 250 bushels of apples on that school bus, and I could use that to store the apples in the school bus and sell out of that using my pickup truck. So I had a pretty good produce business at that age. And these are all lessons learned with my father, who was my best friend and first business partner. So
wow. So you go to UVA, you
Right.
get in, you get your MBA, your MBA.
Right.
Then you go to DC and you get a job with Marriott.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
So Dick Marriott at the time, Bill Marriott and Dick Marriott, the two sons of the founder. Bill Marriott ran the hotel division. Dick Marriott ran the restaurant group. Marriott started as a restaurant company.
That's
And
correct.
At that point in time, more of the revenue came through restaurants than hotels.
Wow.
So Dick Marriott had a fast track program, summer internship, where he would bring in about 12 students each summer, mostly from Harvard, Wharton, and Darden. And at the end of the summer, he would make an offer to one person to come back in his special fast track program. When I looked at the program, I said, this is exactly what I want to do. If I could get into this summer internship and then get the offer to come back into the fast track program, it ultimately would lead to where I wanted to go. And that's learning the restaurant business so I could then own a restaurant company. So I got the job as a summer intern. My project, I worked directly for Dick Marriott. He said, I've got a distribution system, figure out how to make it better. So I worked the warehouses for a couple of weeks. I rode the trucks to understand what was being done. I visited other systems that were servicing Marriott hotels in other parts of the country. Came back then at the end of the summer, presented a program and a proposal to change their distribution system drastically, from using pallets to load the trucks onto the truck to using carts that would get the product in and out quickly. It would improve the quality of the product. But it also meant you could get less product on a truck. So they had to invest in a tremendous number of additional tractor trailers. But needless to say, that because of that, I got the offer to come back after graduation. So I was given the offer to come back in Dick Marriott's fast track program. So it forced me, though, to start as an assistant manager in a fast food restaurant, which was Roy Rogers.
Wow.
Even though I was paid an MBA salary, I started sweeping floors, cooking burgers, cleaning toilets, doing all the work as an entry-level manager.
Wow.
And, it was exactly what I wanted. And I told him, I said, I'll give you 7 years. I was 23 at that time. I said, I'll stay till I'm 30. At the age of 30, I want to leave and start my own company. He said to me, well, if I get 7 years out of an MBA, that's more than I get out of most of you. So I said, okay. And the reason I had that formula was because my father told me many, many times about my great-great-grandfather, Cleve Thompson, who was a slave. He was a slave until roughly the age of 30. At the age of 30, when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, he left the plantation and started a very successful blacksmith business.
Wow.
He lived to be 103, but his business did extremely well. So he learned the skill as a slave. And
Yes.
I'm not for 1 minute advocating that slavery was a positive thing.
Right.
But he took what was given to him, or what he learned and what he earned as a slave, and used that to start a business. One of the first things he also started was a church in the community. He and other former slaves started a church and created a safe place for people to come to live and learn. More importantly, to learn how to read and write, things that they didn't learn when they were slaves.
Right.
So it taught me very early the responsibility to give back to the community, especially in the area of education. So when people say, well, why do you contribute to HBCUs? Because that's what my great-great-grandfather did.
Right.
And so I followed my great-great-grandfather's plan of staying on the plantation until he was 30, and then taking what he learned to start his own business. So my blueprint was to stay at Marriott until 30. I ended up staying there 9 years. So at the age of 32 is when I left, did a leverage buyout of the 30.
Oh, stop here. Hold on. I got to stop here, because I don't want you to fly by this. Okay. This don't fly. You did a leverage buyout. No. You heard they were selling, because when he told me on the boat, on the yacht, really, he told me, well, I heard they were going to sell all of the restaurants from California to DC.
Right.
And I wanted a piece of that. But I'm working a day job. So how in the world, Warren Thompson, did you get first the guts to say, I'm not a wealthy man at this point in my life. I'm a working man, and yet I'm going to figure out how to get the money to buy. How did you do this?
Right. So, it was a very creative deal. But when you're broke and you don't have a lot of money, you get creative.
I want to stop for a moment, because we're going to take a break, and I want to make sure people, because we're going to go into this story, and I want people to hear the story and the challenges he had to overcome. But first of all, let's go back. I want to make sure you heard. His father told him, you can be anything you want to be if you're willing to work hard. If you can do it if you're willing to work hard. The people at the church told him, you can do anything you want to do if you can believe it and you are willing to work hard. And he was willing to buy a school bus when he was 15. He was willing to work the field. When he got to be a
part of the marriage, he was willing to clean the toilets, scrub the floors, flip the burgers. He was willing to do the hard work to get to his goal. Folks, there's a lesson here that I don't want you to go by you, that you must be willing to do the hard work. And as my friend Les Brown, another one of my dear friends who was on this show earlier this season, if you do the things today that others won't do, you'll have the things tomorrow that others won't have. We're going to be right back after this break for station identification with my special guest, Warren Thompson. And for sure, your best is yet to come. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and I got an email from a gentleman in Australia who shared how he had been struggling in his business, and he bought some of my books and audios, and how it had a profound impact on his business, and he went from worst to first in his company. I shared with him how much I appreciated his note, but I told him those books, those audios, those videos were not just something that I just thought up one day and thought to write. They were born out of my experiences, out of the challenges of overcoming the problems and the difficulties and how I was able to do it. And I shared with him that others have sent similar messages and that these resources work. I want to encourage you and invite you to go to my store. Go to wjspeaks.com/shop. wjspeaks.com/shop. Get some of the books. It only takes a minute to change your life. Or a setback is a setup for a comeback. Or turn setbacks into greenbacks. Or chicken soup for the soul. Or an attitude of excellence. Or the book I wrote with my wife after 34 years of being married and not having an argument in over 30 years. We wrote a book called Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last. And now it is saving marriages all over the globe. Go to the store. Get some of the audios, the videos, the books, the resources to help you have greater personal and professional success. This is Dr. Willie Jolley. Make this a great day on purpose. And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways show and podcast with my special guest, Warren Thompson, chairman of Thompson Hospitality. Before we go back to the interview, which I know y'all are enjoying because I'm enjoying it. I'm getting notes. I'm getting chills from this. I want to take a moment to share a little more about our friends at Truist. You know, they've been supportive of my Wealthy Ways show and podcast for many years now. Now, you know, our friends at Truist are leaders in banking, but what I love most about them is how they show up with unwavering care. What does that mean for you? Well, it means that they can help you identify your financial goals, and then they can use their deep industry knowledge and awesome banking tools to help you reach them, like their money and mindset resources, which are available to anybody, whether you're a customer or not. You can find tons of articles, podcasts, tips, and tools to help you along your financial journey. Check it out today at truist.com/money and mindset. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Truist Bank, member FDIC, leading bank on top 10 U.S. commercial bank. I am so excited. My guest is here. I have such great admiration for this gentleman. First of all, because he's such a nice man. Okay, he's a nice man. He's never pompous. He's always been just so easygoing and pleasant. When we see each other, we give each other a hug. Just a nice person. That's first of all. His mama and daddy did good raising him. Okay, next thing about him, he didn't let the success go to his head, and he created a family business as well. That not just he is successful. He had his brother. I think his brother just retired. His brother and his sister, and they have expanded not just with food and restaurants, but they also got a hotel that they built from the ground up. And the things that he thinks about, he's been kind every single time I've called him. I say, hey, we're doing an event for this group that I'm helping to launch their music. He said, I'll put you down at my restaurant down at the Courtyard downtown. Or I'll call him. He said, come up to the one in Silver Spring. By the way, before we go any further, I want to get the story, but I want people to know you got 14, am I right? 14 restaurant brands. Is that correct?
Yep. We have today about 14 brands. across about 70 restaurants. Yes.
14 brands. But folks, let's talk about just for a moment some of those brands, because people will say, what? Matchbox. Am I right?
Correct. Matchbox.
Milk and Honey. Am I right? Give me a couple more of the brands.
Wise Guys Pizza,
Mm.
Big Buns, Burgers, Makers Union. We have the Delegate in DC. We have Walt Ridley down in Charlottesville, Virginia, named after the first African American to graduate from UVA. We have, Cut 132 out in Columbus, Ohio, which is a high-end steakhouse restaurant. Just opened up Peaches in Sterling, Virginia, named after my grandmother.
Wow.
She was a midwife, and everybody called her Miss Peach. So we opened up Miss Peaches about a couple weeks ago. It's a Southern restaurant in Sterling, Virginia. Very exciting.
And you have Prime Quarter, is right? Is that
right.
correct?
Penn Quarter Prime,
Quarter Prime,
which is on the waterfront there in DC. It's a high-end Southern restaurant. Great buffet on the weekends. High-end brunch buffet on Saturday and Sunday. So make your reservation early.
Penn Quarter Prime, 2121 First Street Southwest in DC. I'm going to do some events there. We're going to talk about that a little later in the show, and I want y'all to come because you can get a chance to chat with me and get a book signed. Well, let's talk first, though, more about how did you get the money to do this leverage buyout, and you're a working guy, and you get 31 restaurants. How did that happen?
Well, good or bad, I was fortunate that Marriott decided to get out of the restaurant business. So I'm sitting there. I moved up as an executive on the restaurant side. And so I knew at that point I was either going to have to flip over to the hotel side of the business, leave the company and find a job with another restaurant company, or leave the company and do what I really wanted to do and intended to do, and that was start my own company. So it pushed me off the edge and said, okay, it's now time to do what you said you were going to do, and that's start a restaurant company. So I was actually at the Black MBA conference out in LA, and there was a mentor I had at the time, Bob Holland. Bob and I sat down and drew up the plan on a napkin of how we were going to structure the company. I went back to Marriott and said, look, I want to buy the restaurants, the big boy restaurants in the DC market. And they said, oh yeah, we'll sell them to you. I said, well, the only problem, you haven't paid me enough over the years. I don't have the cash to do it. I said, if you're going to sell them to me, and if I'm going to buy them, you're going to have to hold the note on the senior note. So we continued to negotiate. We finally ended up with a price and a structure. And I came to the conclusion that I needed to buy the big boy restaurants and convert them over to Shoney's. Shoney's had been a part of the big boy system. It exited the system, and it then became a competitor to Big Boy. But it was running an average unit volume of about 300,000 more per year than Big Boy. So it was outperforming. Shoney's had just signed a major discrimination, or settled a major discrimination lawsuit with the SCLC, Dr. Joseph Laurie. So I called Dr. Laurie, and he said, yes, I've got a commitment from Shoney's that they're going to have a certain number of African-American franchisees, and they've not done a very good job of getting any. So I said, okay, this is an opportunity. So I called the CEO of Shoney's, made an appointment to fly out to Nashville, met him, we went out to dinner, and I said, look, I want to buy the big boy restaurants in the DC market. Let's co-develop the market. You come in with me. We'll end up taking this big boy market and converting them over to Shoney's. He liked the idea, so we ended up structuring a deal to buy. There were actually 40 restaurants in the market. So I bought 40 restaurants, held the 40 restaurants for about an hour, sold 9 of them to Shoney's for cash, took that cash, passed it through to Marriott. So Marriott got some cash out of the deal, and then Marriott was willing to hold a note for about $13 million on my 31 restaurants.
Wow.
I raised about $2 million of equity capital, $1.9 million from outside investors, I had 100,000 in the deal, but I was able to retain 56% ownership of the company with only $100,000. So that was sort of the creative mechanism. Marriott was willing to do that because we also had a trigger factor in there that if I defaulted on a principal and interest payment, Marriott could force the sale of a restaurant to Shoney's for cash. There were a group of 15 of the 31 restaurants that we called the collateral restaurants. So Marriott's exposure went down from 13 million down to 8. Shoney's was happy to do that because I would have already spent the money converting those restaurants from Big Boys over to Shoney's that they could then come in and buy.
Wow.
My outside investors were happy because that was the only mechanism that they could get rid of me, was that if that happened and that group of 15 restaurants moved to Shoney's, they could fire me and bring in somebody else to lead the deal. So creating that sort of creative structure.
But you know, there was something in there. I want to make sure people hear. There was a lot of risk,
Right.
and there was a lot on you, and you had to be really confident, or at least willing to take that much risk and say, I'm going to make this happen somehow, some way. Am I right about it?
You're correct. You know, the night we closed on the deal, I spent hours and hours signing personal guarantees for each and every single lease.
Wow.
Involved in the 31 restaurants. Each unit had a different distribution risk, the notes that we signed. And so a lot of personal risk. Now, risk wasn't that great back then because I didn't have any money anyway. So I was like, where do I sign? If we fail, you know, I was young and at a point in life that I could take a lot of risk because the upside was huge. The downside was not that great.
Right.
I'm at a different point in life now. I'm probably far more cautious now than I was back then. But I think your point is absolutely correct. You have to be willing to take risk to move forward in life.
Yes, that's right.
But the key is taking a calculated risk.
Yes, calculated. That's right.
Understand how to mitigate that risk. And so this deal was very creative. As I said, this was 33 years ago. And it was one of the largest leverage buyouts in our industry at the time. But I had watched Reginald Lewis and other Black entrepreneurs figure it out. And so taking what I'd learned from watching others and also what I'd learned about the industry. So I knew, for example, getting into this deal, I could go to my suppliers and get upfront money or cash rebates that they would give me for buying their product. Get that money up front from Pepsi or General Foods for the coffee. So I brought those dollars to the table as well. So I then went to Marriott and said, okay, the office that I'm operating out of on behalf of Marriott, I want to sublet that to you when I start my company. And you move the people that were working for me back to headquarters. It'll save you money. I'll sublet, it'll reduce your risk. So I knew exactly what the lease cost because I had negotiated it for Marriott. So I sublet the space from Marriott and kept the same desk, the same telephone when I moved from Marriott to starting my company.
Wow.
Also said to them, don't give me a going away party. Just give me that old furniture and computers I've got out there. My boss had never been out there. I had some pretty nice furniture. So that was my goal. So I brought all that to the table. And then I went to Shoney's and said, okay, you need a minority franchisee. I'm going to help you solve your issues with Dr. Lowry and the SCLC. So rather than paying 5% royalty, I'm going to only pay you 1% royalty. So that translated into millions of dollars of savings. So that was another argument to my outside investors as to why with $100,000, I should retain 56% ownership.
Yes.
I ended up also then buying out the outside investors within the first 5 years. I bought them out. So then we own 100% of the company. But it was a great deal, very creative. The only thing I didn't figure on was the fact that the Shoney's brand was tainted so badly going through the discrimination lawsuit. African Americans weren't visiting Shoney's. Even though I owned them, they didn't know that they were Black owned in the DC market.
Yes.
So the business started to tank.
Mm.
We closed October 2nd of 92. March of 93, we had the worst blizzard in the history of DC. Couldn't get the restaurants open for a week.
Wow.
We're starting we're burning through cash that we had. Restaurants are failing. My father died in June of 93. So I began to question, can I do this?
Hold that thought. That's what I want to get to. The struggles. What do you do in the minutes of struggles? We're going to be right back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show. And for sure, the best is yet to come. We'll be right back.
Motivated, highly motivated, gonna take you to the top. Motivated, highly motivated, I'm never gonna stop. I had a job I really hated. It made me sick, but it got me motivated. I knew that this was not where I was meant to be. I didn't want to stay, but I was too afraid to leave. Then one day I got my check, there was almost nothing there. I went to the cross, he laughed and said he didn't care. My kids were at home hungry, I was about to lose my home. That's when I decided I had to make it on my own. Said I, gonna take it to the top. I said I'm never gonna stop. My friends said I was crazy when I told them all goodbye. But the only one who's crazy is the one who's afraid to try. They said I'd never make it, said I would not survive. But I knew I had to make it. It was either do or die. So I grabbed hold of my dream.
Hey, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, here to thank Truist Bank for their sponsorship of the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways show and podcast. Now, if you're a longtime Wealthy Ways listener, you know I believe that mindset is the key to success, and so does Truist. That's why they've created their incredible resource, Money and Mindset. It's full of tips to help you with your finances and help you with your well-being. You can get articles, quizzes, calculators, and hey, even more podcast information that will bless you, all for free and for anyone to use. Check it out today at truist.com/money and mindset. Truist.com/money and mindset. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care, and Truist Bank is a member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank.
And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show with my special guest, Warren Thompson, president and chairman of Thompson Hospitality. He was telling about the struggle, and that's what I want you to hear. So the restaurant Shoney's is tainted. The restaurant was losing money. There was a big snowstorm, and then his father dies. It all came at the same time. What did you do, Warren? How did you get through that?
You know, going through the most difficult time in life during those months, I reverted back to my upbringing and my relationship with God.
Yes.
It's good to have that, to know that there's a rock that you can always go to.
Yep.
So I got away for a weekend and meditated, prayed over it, and it came very crystal clear to me that I needed to move up our business plan. Our plan said that we would get into contract food service in year 5. We actually had to get into it within the first 10 months.
Wow.
So I came back and said to the team, we're going to now move and pivot and move into contract food service. They thought I was crazy. They said, we're bleeding cash. We're having difficulty. Now you want to go into a different line of business. Actually, I had a friend who was running a small community college in Baltimore. She was complaining about her food service. I kept saying to her, I can take that over. She called me up within days of me returning and said, hey, I'm going to kick my food service provider out on Thursday. I need food service by Monday. I said, we can do that. So we got a group. We went up, spent the weekend in Baltimore. By that Monday, we got the food service operation open. We were serving the same food that we were serving in Shoney's. Kids loved it. And so we got into the contract food service business in that manner.
Oh, stop there. I want to make sure people understand this. One, that when you trust God, things that you did not expect will happen, but you've got to be prepared to take action. Faith without works is dead, but faith with work can change your life. And so what he said was, I prayed about it. I went away for a weekend. I thought about it. And I said to the team, we're going to do this. And we prayed on it. I prayed about it and I had faith. The lady calls him and says, I need you. Now, he had pitched it to her earlier. She said no. But at that moment, he said, I can do this. A can-do attitude. Folks, I want y'all to take that down. Have a can-do attitude. You got to have a can-do attitude and look for when God opens doors. Now, one more thing. When he opened the door and says, here, go to work, it always, opportunities come in work clothes. They don't come with you all dressed up in a three-piece suit. They come in overalls. That's what they did. They went to work. Go ahead, Warren.
You're absolutely right. And the second kind of part of that story is probably 30 days later, one night I had a dream and it was my father talking to me. And he said, son, call my alma mater and see about the food service there. It was as plain as day.
Wow.
I'd gone to that school as a kid when we would go to football games and so forth, but I hadn't been there in 20 years. But I picked up the phone, called down the next day to the college, St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville, Virginia.
Lawrenceville, Virginia. I've been there. Yeah.
And I asked to speak to the president. And really in our business, you never can do a cold call and get the president.
Right. Right.
But for whatever reason, Dr. Law came to the phone and I said to him, my name is Warren Thompson. I'd like to talk to you about your food service. He said, Thompson. He said, do you know Fred Thompson? I said, that was my father. He said, your father and I were classmates. He said, boy, come down here and talk to me.
Wow.
See how
God do it? God, won't he do it?
Got in the car the next day, drove down. A week later, we went back with a presentation in hand and we got the food service account. He was about to award that account that day.
Wow.
And,
ain't that amazing?
That was our entree into the college business that incorporated a board operation. And had that not happened, I wouldn't be here today talking to you.
Wow. This is an amazing story. There's so much more to the story, but we got limited time. What I want to do now is ask you a question that I ask every guest, Warren, because he's gone on to build not only with multiple colleges, Fortune 100 companies, they do the food service. Plus he has restaurants. Plus he has hotels. And plus he's involved in ownership and limited partner on ownership with our friend Norm Jenkins, who has been on here. Norm had a similar story. Marriott took a chance and now has he's the owner of major hotels around America, all because they were willing to work hard, take a chance. Okay, you're going to be in DC, let's say one day, Warren, and you and I have lunch, and then we go over to Howard, or we go to GW, or Air American University, Catholic, one of the schools in a business class, and we go in and talk to the students. Give me a couple, you got us. If you're going to be successful in business and life, young people, here's some things you got to do.
You have to have a passion for the business. Whatever it is you choose to do, you got to be excited about it. Can't wait to get out of bed in the morning. You dread vacations because you can't stay away from it too long. You got to have that passion and love what you do. And it's the old adage, if you find that thing that you have a passion to do, you never work another day in your life. There's a big difference between doing what you love and working.
Mm-hmm.
And so I often say to young people, make sure that you find that thing, whether it's a job or whether it's a business that you're going to develop or buy or create, have the passion for it. Secondly, you've got to be willing to work hard.
Hard.
Nothing's going to come to you easy. And if it's worth it, it's worth putting in the effort and working hard. What does that mean? Working hard and hustling. Getting the job done before someone else realizes there's a job to be done. My job today is to think about where will my industry be 3 years from now, 5 years from now? How do I get there before anyone else? 28 years ago, we established a partnership with Compass Group, the largest food service. They were the third largest food service company in North America. They're now by far the number one. But when I approached them and said, let's create a unique partnership in our industry, nothing like this existed at the time. We created something that I felt was a response to what the customers were looking for. Our competitors have all now tried to duplicate it, but we were first to market, and we were ahead of the curve in creating this unique offering. Now it's a matter of how do we keep it alive, and how do we keep it going, and how do we stay ahead of the customer, of the competition. But I often say to young people, be willing to work hard and try to get on the forefront, stay on the forefront of where the industry is headed.
Wow. I met a gentleman from Compass Group on the boat that day of your yacht, and we had a nice chat. African-American gentleman, and he said Warren has done such a tremendous job in being a great partner, and I was so impressed with all of that. Warren, you have done just incredible what you've built. You've won the awards. You've been lauded, but you stay humble. I guess that's due to your parents. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And your faith in God. And folks, and he has a beautiful bride, Danielle, and this little beautiful daughter named Skylar, who he said, Skylar, while we were there, Skylar, what do you like to do? She said, I like to watch Shark Tank with my daddy. And he said, what's your favorite stock? She said, NVIDIA. And how old is she? She's like 6, right?
She'll be 5 next month.
Yeah,
Yep.
5 years old.
Right.
But he created next generation. He's done it with his family, his father, his grandfather, the impact. You're thinking about generational wealth, developing their mind right now. Well, many of you know I've got this new book, Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. It has 2 avatars. First, to help people who want to be wealthy but don't know the difference between being rich and being wealthy. And they're working hard, they're making money, and they're saying they're creating generational wealth. But what they're really doing is they're creating riches. And that's good. It's a good thing to get rich, but you can't stop at rich. You got to develop assets that make money while you're sleeping. And that's the difference between rich and wealthy. So you got to know that difference. And there's more about that that's in the book. But then the second part is all the people who've worked hard, scrimped, saved, sacrificed to make money, to create a nest egg, to create some wealth, but they're concerned that children are going to squander it. How do you teach them what it is? How do you show them what money does and can do, and how do you help them protect the golden goose that lays a golden egg and not kill it? That's what this book does. It helps you. Some have called it the sequel to Think and Grow Rich, and I'm grateful for that. I'm going to do a special event with Warren's Restaurant on the 1st of November the 1st. I'm going to be at the Hen Quarter Prime Restaurant at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a Saturday afternoon. It's at 2121 First Street Southwest. If you're in the Washington area, anywhere in the area, you come get a signed copy of the first edition copy of the book, and you will be glad. Get copies. It's going to be a unique offering, exclusive for people in my community and people who are listening, our inner circle. That's what you are if you're listening to this show or the podcast. It's on November the 1st. If you need more information, you can reach out to my office at info@williejolly.com. info@williejolly.com. I want to thank our sponsor, Truist Bank, for all their consistent success. And I want to encourage everybody to go to winwithwillie.com and then join us every Monday night. The Jolly Marriage Show on A Jolly Marriage on Facebook, The Real Willie Jolley on Instagram, Willie Jolley on LinkedIn, and then you can watch the replays on the Jolly Marriage Show on YouTube. Based on our book, my wife and our book, Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last. Been married 40 years, haven't had an argument in 38 years. And you can learn more about that at the Jolly Marriage Show, where we do our TED Talk, and you can see how we don't always agree
but we learn how to not argue. Encourage you, November the 1st. I'll be there with my book for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half at the Headquarter Prime, which is at 2121 1st Street, Southwest, November the 1st at 1 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon. And y'all come, get books signed, and we can take pictures, and I'll share some ideas and some thoughts about the book. I'll talk a little bit about the book. So come in that 1 o'clock hour. And then finally, folks, I want you to remember that all things are possible to them that believe. If you can believe it and you can conceive it, you can achieve it. And that if you're willing to work hard, trust God, work smart, you can make it happen. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show. And for sure, your best is still yet to come. Have a great day.
And everybody's right sometimes, some rain's gonna fall. And everybody's house sometimes, trouble will call. But when trouble stops by, you can sit there and cry, or you can make up your mind. You're gonna stand up and fight. Hey, people, listen closely to the sound of my voice. Success in life is never due to chance, but to choice. You choose to go on, to go through the storm.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode, and I hope you got something of great value. And I hope that you were inspired, you were motivated, you were empowered, and you were encouraged to live your best life. I hope this information and this inspiration will help you to do more, be more, and to achieve more. That's the goal why I started this program, and I hope it helped you in a mighty way. Now, I ask you to make sure and that you take full advantage of all the resources that came through this program. I hope you go to wjspeaks.com/gift and get some of the free resources that we have there for you. I hope you go to wjspeaks.com/shop to get some of the books that we have created, that we've labored over to make sure that they will deliver a powerful message to you. I hope you go to williejolly.com/billionaire, williejolly.com/billionaire, or wjspeaks.com/billionaire to get the box that it will inspire your whole family, or get the bag of books. Make this a great day, a great week, a great month. And remember, it is true that you are blessed and all things are possible for them that believe. So make the most of the belief that you have now in your future. This is Dr. Willie Jolley. Have a great day.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.